Joseph mentioned, it's one of main areas of focus areas of our collaboration, shows great importance of our joint initiative. And I'd like to thank you personally, Mr. Losman, and all your colleagues for great cooperation. So I made a great progress. We've got 10 work groups. My colleague, Mr. Husman, informed me that 3 further work groups are being created. Recently, we had an electrotechnical meeting with 40 participants, and it shows the great interest that's shown by, shown to our initiative. 4.0 industry is very important. All our initiatives on digitalization, and we try to implement the industry 4.0 Industry 4.0 platform to be implemented in Russia, because the language is a very important part of our collaboration, and there are no alternatives. Actually, now we can see good recovery after the pandemic. In Moscow, I had meetings with German firms that are very glad about the situation in the Russian market. They develop their production. Green energy and green transition is a very important topic of our collaboration, and this topic can be seen as great input in our joint initiative. I congratulate you once again, and thank you. Thanks a lot for your attention. Thank you, Mr. Harms. Thank you personally, and Mr. Berman, all our colleagues, for though the pandemic is still around, we keep our work contacts and good relationships. And within 2 days, within the Standardization Forum framework, we're discussing all points about including digital technologies points. And we've got very good backlog for our joint cooperation. I'm giving the floor to Mr. Andrea Sobolev, the same representative of Russian Federation in trade representative of Russia in Germany. Please. Thank you. Thank you, Andrei Nikolaevich. Dear colleagues, Mr. Harms, Mr. Mikhail Mr. Berman, Mr. Yelm, Mrs. Michurina, it's on behalf of trade mission of Russia in Germany, I would like to welcome all the participants and congratulate with the World Standard Day. Unlike Mr. Harms, I was unable to meet you in Moscow, but in the exhibition there was a privilege of being in Russia and meet our colleagues. And we recollected that in the current years, there is a lot of actually reasons for holidays. This Industry 4.0 is a term. 4.0 this year is celebrating 10-year anniversary. Within this 10 years, the world has changed drastically. We've got a new economic mode, and we are getting along with a virtual world. And you see, we've got students in Moscow, St. Petersburg, in Germany. They create joint information systems. Sometimes 4.0 industry is sometimes notified as the eternity, limitless sign. And also it should be, it should deal with transparency and decentralization of solutions. And main principle of economy, some of these principles, mainly principles of compatibility and support, are the key ones for the Council of Technical Regulation and signature for RSPP for the Russian Union of Industries and Enterprise, and also and for Russian and German specialists are very important in terms of regulation and standardization. We can see expansion of long-term cooperation. We'll talk about this in July, about the initiatives, about the driver of this process, business, and with the support of both countries and EU authorities, and the technical regulation in Russia and EU in development of this industries in digital technology. Mr. Harms also earmarked this importance of this process and the interest shown by many participants and many stakeholders. It's very important. We cannot overestimate the efforts of the Council on many focus areas. We would like to speak about this work on shaping up the platform of Industry 4.0 in Germany. It's similar to German 4.0 industry platform. This way we bring a great input into digitalization of our community, turn into the sixth in technological mode. In the environment of pandemic, the digital competence and efficient solutions will undoubtedly show great basis for our bilateral cooperation. We'll have more meetings, and we've got used to it, so we'll be getting closer to each other, and we'll bring together not just the digital space, but the people. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got all the necessary tools to implement the tasks we are facing, but we need to coordinate our efforts in our joint work. So let me express my awareness that during the discussion we'll have a very fruitful dialogue that will strengthen our further Russian-German partnership and give its input into development of Russia and Germany. Thank you for your attention. Thank you, Andrea Lagunars. So thanks for your support for the interest to our project, the interest. And now, dear colleagues, let me briefly speak about the interim results of our results of the work of our council and the plans we are shaping up for the next 2022. Please, could you share the presentation? Andrei Nikolaevich mentioned that so was welcome Moscow studio, but actually it's in St. Petersburg, and it's written. Yes, it's a great weather, sunny weather in St. Petersburg. So welcome to the next forum on the standardization. So it's a pity that our German colleagues, because of the quarantine reasons, were unable to participate in person in this forum, but our invitation is still in force, and visit in the beautiful city of St. Petersburg will be nice, and we want to show you the visit of Mendeleev Institute of Metrology was set up by Mendeleev and was built based on the Mendeleev project, and it's a leading metrology institute not only in Russia but globally. And when once our German colleagues have this opportunity to visit St. Petersburg, we would like to show you this pearl of technical thought and standardization. Specifically, our council has been working for 3 years. We got good results. It's It's and Boris Mikhailовich prepared the glossary and we've got three languages: English, German, Russian. But we'll also prepare other languages like we've got Czech language, and maybe the French language will be there. So it's and IT community of Russia validated highly this glossary as the basis for development of digital technologies. Interim results of the council work have been performed and been shown in some publications. Many companies and technical committees, many of them, they show interest in participating in the work of our council. We are carrying on with the work in digital technology area and in traditional, conventional areas of standardization and compliance assessment. So today we're intensively discussing standardization issues for the future, digital standardization. Yesterday there was a session of project committee 711 about smart standards, about machine-readable standards. It was chaired by Mr. Tikhomir Sergey president of Codex company, and many technical committees working in the sphere of standardization for digital application are very interested in this project, and they are signing the agreement with this technical committee. And so we'll try to not to have a difference in railway gauge. Rail track gauge. So the railway gauge difference won't take place in our digital cooperation. And our 711 committee sessions we're discussing many points that are going to be reflected in international standards. And very important focus area for SPP and our council will be standardization and certification of construction materials, because this year a decision was made by Eurasian Commission about development technical regulation for safety of construction materials. Is a great market of 5 EU countries, and it's important to develop all necessary documents and standards of safety in the construction materials. And EU opinion is very important for us, and an experience. And 305 regulation of EU on the safety of construction materials is important for us, and I would like to thank for Eastern Eastern Committee of German Economy. There was information that we provided. We had the record of this seminar. Many specialists watched this record of this seminar of Eastern Committee of German Economy. And I think the work group on construction materials will be working intensively on, and the participation will be it'll place in Ministry of Construction and Housing and Utilities sector of Russian Federation, and Ministry of Trade and Industry and Ross Standards and Ross Accreditation. So I hope that the next year will see an opportunity of German colleagues to come to Russia, and for us will be opportunity to visit European countries to study the expertise and experience work with the construction materials in place. We've had a lot of meetings in Germany, in Slovenia, and within the framework of the St. Petersburg Forum, the day before yesterday, we discussed an issue. We discussed it with the State Economic University of St. Petersburg about preparation of a big conference in the area of preparation, staff preparation for standardization specialists for digital industry. So a lot of work has to be done to prepare high-quality specialists, and quality of specialists determine the level of 4.0 industry level. And Mr. Paznev, working in Instrumental Institute, Sergey Sobolev, professor of University of Automation and Radio Electronics, in Podansky, is the chairman of Council of Trustees of Ural University, who work with many leading universities of Russia. Ms. Julia Krause works in Dresden University, and we hope that next year we'll run a big conference in St. Petersburg with the participation of a number of universities of Russia, and we hope the German university will join in, so discussing the points of specialist preparation, working of the techniques of working with the students, because it's a crucial work. Now we are finalizing, making up the plan of the committee for the next year, and the plan of our council. Actually, we'll submit it for approval. We submitted this document to our German colleagues, and I think it will be not less fruitful than previous. And I thank you for your attention. I'm ready to answer your questions if there are any. So today says that session of the meeting of our council, the Russian part, will be chaired by me and Boris Mikhailovich Paznev. I ask him also to participate in chairing this event and moderating. Thanks for your attention. Now I'm giving the floor for the presentation to Mr. Krause. Yes, Mr. Krause, I'm giving you the floor.
Yes, thank you. Can I share? Just a moment. Ladies and gentlemen, honorable officials, Mr. Lutzmanov, Mr. Harms, Mr. Sobolev. Sorry, I have a very big echo. There's a technical problem. Okay, now it's better. Thank you for your invitation. It's a pleasure to be here. The harmonization of technical regulation is both a challenge and an opportunity, especially if the focus is on economic change between Russia and Germany, but also with the EU and Eurasian Economic Union. Today, I would first like to briefly explain the area of potential conflict, the present best practice example, and finally give you practical impulses for harmonization of technical regulation. In recent years, the number of technical regulation standards adopted by Russian Federation and the Russian This increased regulatory policy, especially from Russia, can be seen as the result of higher standards of living which have boosted consumers' demand for safe and high-quality products, and of growing problems environment, which have encouraged modern societies to explore environmentally friendly products and new technologies like Industry 4.0. Divergent regulation causes divergent costs of exporters, which are conformity assessment costs, loss of economic scale, information costs, risk buffering costs, or market evaluation costs. It means exporters normally have disadvantages in comparison to domestic firms. E.g., regulatory hurdles make the export of a low-voltage system from Germany to Russia up to 100% more expensive. For a pressure heat exchanger, probably tested according to the international standard ASME, up to 200%. If you compare the objectives of technical regulation between Russia and Germany, that means, in other words, between the Russian Union and the EU, it is striking that these can be the same approach: protection of human lives, nature, animals, environment, consumer rights, and avoid deceptive practices. And finally, to build up trade barrier. Trade barrier building is not only since Trump's America First, the first thing that always comes to mind, but in the area of food or intellectual property protection, a different insight prevails. The arguments for harmonization of technical regulations are well known, and is the use existing international standards for national regulation. Harmonization is necessary for the connection and compatibility of parts of products and of course products. For example, take the case of telecommunication equipment or car parts. An important role in these efforts is played by the International Standardization Organization ISO, or the International Electrotechnical Commission EAC, or as another example, the International Telecommunication Union ITU. Their activities have had major impact on trade, especially in industrial products. For example, ISO has developed more than 9,600 international standards covering almost all technical fields. Russia and Germany are still in an area of tension here, despite of all positive results in the last year. In order to advance the harmonization of technical regulation, the RSBB, the Eastern Committee of German Business, and over 150 Russian and German experts, mostly from companies, but also from organizations, founded the German-Russian Initiative for Harmonization of Technical Regulation in 2018. I have also been active here since 2018, alongside my estimated colleagues, Mr. Reichel from Siemens and Professor Potsnev from Russian side as Vice President. Together with our experts, we formed three main objectives. First, harmonization of technical regulation. Second, optimization on the quality infrastructure between Germany and Russia, and of course, because we are member states, between the European Union and the Russian Union. And last, developing recommendations for the legislator. To this end, many results have already been achieved, which can be seen in the output of the regular binational meetings, our publications, and above all, the transfer into industrial practice. The transfer and the working groups takes place in best practice. We call this pilot project. Here's an example of such a pilot project. In the machinery and equipment working group, we are working on a pilot project dealing with the harmonization of technical regulations using the example of an electric arc furnace according to ISO 13578. Here you can see a short summary of our work. It is easy to see that there's still a long way to go for harmonization of technical regulation, and another long way to lifting of non-tariff trade barriers. Finally, I would like to give you some practical recommendations resulting from the working group of our initiative, but also from my professional activity of more than 19 years in this working field. As when you see a small building block, but a big step is the mutual recognition of test protocols, which has been achieved as a good example in the field of metrology in Russia with the law, Russian Federation statement of the government number 1847 from 16/11/2020, which came into force on the 1st of January this year. Because the approval of measuring instruments on the territory of Russia is simplified for European manufacturers and partly made possible with their own calibration, which is our main goal. That means mutual recognition of protocols, in this case, calibration protocols. Other important points which can be changed more easy than others are the simplification of documentation and the acceptance of international standards for remote inspection. We still have a lot of work to do here, despite all success in all big steps forward to harmonization of technical regulation. And I must say in conclusion, as a CEO, it is above all the economic success for the companies that will have an accelerating effect here. Thank you for your kind attention. I'm open for your question.
We haven't seen each other in person. However, our working group is working very actively. And this aspect that has just been stated by Dr. Krause, it's very important. Can you hear me, colleagues? So I'm continuing. So this harmonization aspect, it's a very difficult set of problems, poses a very difficult set of problems, because within the Russian Federation and within the Eurasian Economic Community, there are technical regulations, including the technical regulations of the Customs Union. So it's they rest upon a whole number of standards. And with Mr. Krause, we have discussed this problematics quite a few times. And in the framework of the future prospects, it is very important to take account of we are going to solve this problem in a radical way by bringing another mic, I guess, over here. I hope this machinery works. So Mr. Herman is providing for the feedback. And it's a very important aspect for the harmonization of the technical regulation. On the one hand, it is important for us to understand in what direction the normative base of the technical regulation is developing. And of course, to a certain extent, it is necessary to take account of the tendencies that exist currently in the Russian Federation, especially when it comes to the development and future application of the new standards, Industry 4.0. And there is a lot of work ahead of us. And in the machine and equipment working group and smart production working group as well. Mr. Krause, essentially, let me comment on the overall situation. However, from the point of view of our interface and the project that we spoke about, we need to discuss according to what technical regulations and what standards when it comes to heating electrical furnaces. We need to discuss specific requirements. Maybe at the nearest meeting you can tell us in more detail what specific technical characteristics of the furnaces for heating the metal need to be discussed. From the point of view of the prospective harmonization of the normative documents.
Yes, Professor Botnev, thank you for the summary of the speech. I would like to see a little bit further into our white paper, what we would like to publish next year with our working group. But generally, just a moment, I have a very big echo. I would like to repeat, thank you, Professor Botnev, for the summary of my speech. I agree with you, the pilot project with the arc furnace is a very good example to show that harmonization of technical regulation between Russia and Germany and EU and the Russian Union is not done in a proper way. Because when we take the standards, what I show you in my slide, take together, so we will see a lot of differences. And when we are talking about goes ISO as an example, it does not mean 100% harmonization. It only means you have a lot of standards, a lot of parts the same, but for example, different testing protocols. And that's why we would like to show in our example not the function of this furnace, but we would like to show the example, the regulatory frame. This is the main objective of this pilot project. And of course, we will have relationship to Industry 4.0. That's why you could see in my slide on the left side this Industry 4.0 relationship. From my point of view, it's a very good example to combine your working groups together with our. That means to combine old industry together to the new one. And a second statement, I agree with you 100%. Industry 4.0 is the field which is not a stable field in technical regulation and standardization. That's why it's a good topic to go further and faster into the harmonization project, because you don't have two lines. It's not existing. You have only recommendation and very few standards. That's why it's a good topic to bring it's a good topic to bring harmonization faster into reality. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Krause. I think we are at the beginning of the road and we can still work. And if you permit, I will move over to my presentation because we have quite tough regulations. And in my presentation, I would like to reflect one more aspect of our bilateral cooperation. And there are certain rules existing within the Russian expert communication, community, which exist within the Industry 4.0 Industry 4.0 program. So, when we're talking about the national digital industry within the Russian Federation, We have first started with studying the German experience at the Russian-German Council. So let me say first a few words about the international community and the development of Industry 4.0 standards. So over those 3 years of joint work, we have gone a long way, and we have studied the international experience, and that's the transformation of the German experience, or actually projecting it on the international community at large. And on this slide there are several trends, several directions, and it's very topical for the Russian Federation, and we are accessing this process a little bit later than the German colleagues have done, as well as the representatives of the other states, so we need to work fast and study actively what our colleagues have developed, and so in the framework of the Smart Production Working Group, the main emphasis was on the new model of industrial development, on the Smart Production Architecture 4.0, and a few other very important tasks, including preparing the future personnel and for digital transformation and digital development of the industry. So we have borrowed a lot from our German colleagues, and it is very important now. I will not dwell too much on the work of the Council. Andrea has mentioned that before. We've been working together for over 3 years. I am moving over to the main part of my presentation. And I would like to pay attention to the fact that today we have generalized quite a bit the experience of international organization for the development of Industry 4.0 standards. I would like to especially emphasize the experience of the German industry, the unions of the producers of various products who are working very actively on the practical application of the products. So a special emphasis is placed on the work of the international organizations and working groups, especially the working group of the smart production, smart industry. And in this respect, we have tasks on the consolidation of the activity of technical committees, national committees. There are a few of them, especially in the field of digitalization and informational technologies, and various emphasis that need to be placed in various fields. So, as I'm talking about the Russian colleagues, many Russian colleagues have joined together. We are going to soon celebrate 1 year anniversary from the time of our Coordination Council has started its work, including the national technical committees who have joined together in order to work and develop the standards. In the first place, when it comes to industry, so a few words or a few slides that show our activity and the composition of our Coordination Council.
So there are chairmen of technical committees, and also there is stress on the newly created program technical committee 711 smart standards, and also so our colleague Olga Denisova will speak in detail about the work of this committee. Again, there is another focus on the lineup of the Coordination Council. You can see the names of our technical committees specified here. And we'll be starting with this. 11 ones will be expanding up to 15, 17 ones. So to have a systematic cooperation and consolidation in developing new standards. So industrial association experts are involved in this, including digital innovation in mechanical building. As I had as the chairman of the board, and I'd like to share with the colleagues, with our German colleagues, the structure of our organization. Actually, we join not only the industries that are enterprises that are interested in digital development, but also IT companies and the leading universities. So I think that on other industries we'll be able to develop our cooperation and consolidate the involvement of the expertise as personalities. You can see many familiar faces in the association coordination in the council and the Russian-German council. They are involved in the work of all these entities. I would like to point out the 4.0 model. We've been dealing with this actually aspect, and we get closer to understand how this model can be implemented and transformed in the Russian industry at the beginning of the next year. Maybe it's likely that the national standard is going to be adopted, harmonized with the relevant international standard. Next year, we start developing the guidelines on 4.0 model for industry, and further on there'll be some standards related to adaptation of this model for specific industries. I'm not going to dwell on the glossary. We've performed this work and completed this work. It was a very important stage of building up our actual level of our understanding of our companies. It was understanding the international standards, and the 4.0 model is complex semantics. We increase the number of languages. And the final point, Olga, are you tracking the time? I think I'll finalize in a minute. So I would like to put the stress on the performance of our coordination council, especially for the last half a year. It's based on the justification of the structure of the main standardization focus areas in the framework of our former perspective system of Industry 4.0 standards. Here you can see just main focus areas. So the 9 of them, followed by the objects and aspects of standardization. About 50 of them, might be more of them, and a great number of standards that are planned for stage-by-stage development. And in the plans of 2022 national standardization plans, we have a proposal for 46 standards development. There's a present here. It'll be big volume work, and I think that cooperation with our German colleagues will be of crucial. Thanks for your attention, and I can take your questions if necessary, please. I understand there are no questions, especially our German friends. Are there any questions? Mr. Böllman, I think you are tracking the situation, I hope. I'm monitoring everything. Honest, there are no questions for now. Thanks a lot for explanation. The stage we are at of development we are at. I think it's been voiced very, Ms. Hans and Ms. Sobolev and Ms. Asmanova. It's very nice that we are jointly working, that our initiative has been developing so fast and successfully. It's a miracle, really. It's a miracle, because we are hoped that we'll meet this year in Moscow, in St. Petersburg, but unfortunately we failed to. But 100%, next year we'll see our joint session. We'll meet up. We hope for this. It's a clear thing. So, but I've got no questions. Maybe some other German colleagues have got some questions. Then I suggest that we turn to the next presentation. We've got some time at the end. We can we'll ask some more questions and try to find answers to the. And now I'm going to give the floor for presentation to Mr. Andres Haas. Andres Haas. Are you ready, Andres Haas?
Can you hear me? Okay, so I guess you can hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay. So thank you for the possibility to have a speech here today on the topic, the global production language, and we solve that with OPCUA companion specifications. My name is Andreas Fahrt. I'm the head of industrial interoperability of the German Engineering Association. So the VMA is Mechanical Engineering Industry Association, and we got more than 3,300 member companies. And we are also representing the whole manufacturing industry. That means everything I am explaining is really representing the broad machine building industry, the manufacturing industry. It is not only for a specific part like robotic or maybe agricultural, but it is really spread over the whole engineering industry. And the need of the mechanical engineering industry is the vertical and horizontal networking. So all kinds of machine components and systems have to exchange information easily and interoperable, and the different customers and the machine name and so on don't have to be a problem in this exchange. We really need a branch independent, a company independent communication between the different actors in the shop floor. And for that, exactly, we looked out what can we do as an association together with companies all over the world. So it's not a German approach or a European approach. It is, like the word it says, a global approach, global production language. And we drive that, for example, also with Brazil, Mexico, the States, China, India, Singapore. So a lot of countries are included here. Of course, Europe also, and of course, it would be also great to have here closer cooperation with the Russian companies. So OPCUA is the technical solution for standardized interfaces for the life cycle of shop floor. And why is OPCUA usable? So OPCUA, Open Platform Communication Unified Architecture, is an IEC standard we are basing on. And the requirements were that we need an open source approach, we need security by design in the technology, we need various protocols that have to be supported, and we have the semantic machine description. The semantic machine description exactly is where we are doing the companion specifications, the global production language, together with the different companies from all over the world. And what we want to do is pretty easy. There is a kind of linguistic confusion, let's say it like this, in the shop floor, because every company, every machine manufacturer has its own language. And what we want to do is a worldwide defined language for grammar, but also for vocabulary. And this idea seems to be that good that right now we got more than 600 companies, not only mechanical engineering, but also automotive, process automation, IT companies are in those groups. And we got more than 35 groups working actively, describing the interfaces for different machines so that we have an easy information exchange in the shop floor, but also from the shop floor up to the cloud. And this is really short. OPC serves different protocols, so UDP, ICP, MQTT, you all know them, are basis of OPC. So OPC is not a protocol, and we have also the possibility to have a strict client-server, but also a pub-sub communication, which is right now in the industry a big topic. And if we go to the important thing, then we see here the OPC companion specifications are the semantic information models that enable the interoperable communication on the shop floor. And by that, the machines are not easily replaceable because there are also vendor-specific extensions. So it makes the whole thing easier, but the important information which are relevant for the competitors on the market can be added on the global production language by vendor-specific extensions. So it gets pretty clear that for all the machine builders and also for the customers, it is easier to give the information in a standardized way and to get the information in a standardized way. And it's easier to use the information because for the different machine vendors, the same information are named the same way and can be compared directly. But still, there's a possibility to do specific things which are maybe your specialty in the machine, or if a customer has something really special that can be, of course, implemented too. So if we check shortly what has happened already and what is happening right now, there are really a bunch of releases that are already on the market. For example, for machine tools, for robots, for injection molding machines, for weighing technology, and upcoming are, for example, the topic of mining, the topic of heavy industries, like metallurgy, like furnaces, like high pressure, like casting machines. This is all coming right now, and there are also a lot of groups right now in the setup phase, like, for example, the printing technology or a melting furnace or laser systems. So you can see here, there are really a lot of different groups doing this global production language. And this is also something where we can include companies from all over the world, where they can give us their ideas and comments, and we will try to do a standard that fits to all the needs of the companies worldwide. Pretty easy to understand is that we have so many specifications for the interfaces based on OPC that we need harmonization. And this harmonization is done in the so-called OPC for machinery. And we do that with global cooperation. We have the OPC Foundation that is specifying the technology OPC. We use the companion specifications. And as I said, the VDMA is hosting the groups. So we don't own the groups and we don't own the results. It is free of source. Everybody can take it. And we do that. And this is really important for us together with global partners. So if I say Industry 4.0 global production language, OPC is kind of basis. The technology serves as a mesh communication network. Then we have the working groups doing their domain-specific specifications and doing a high or a big part of the global production language. And then we got this cross-domain harmonization in the OPC for machinery. And this OPC for machinery is also funded by the DMWI, the German government. And with this, we are really able to set a basis for in-common information that are not specific for a different branch, like identification, like status management, like job management, like energy management. Those are topics that are solved not individually for the specific machine type, but for all the machines in the mechanical engineering industry. And this serves as a broad basis for the global production language. And as last point, to bring that easier to the customers, we founded a brand called UMATI, Universal Machine Technology Interface, where we are doing the dissemination marketing with. And that means that, of course, with OPC-UA and the global production language, we have 100% semantic interoperability. But with UMATI, we are trying to give also the plug and play by identical implementation, and we have a global community open to any company worldwide, where we can bring machine builders and the users. So everybody who's using information from the machines can go into this community, and together we are discussing about how should look the future of industrial communication like. And pretty easy, they discuss about best practices, lessons learned, they have feedback from the users, they have a joint promise plug and play on identical implementation. And what we are wanted to do is really to leverage the international acceptance and also to leverage the activities of international partners in the specification working groups doing the global production language. Thank you very much.
Thank you, dear colleagues. Maybe you want to ask questions to the speaker. Very interesting and very exhaustive, very promising presentation. But I'm ready to ask a question. Mr. Haas, I'd like to hear your assessment. What age of readiness is this specification now, or this global production language, or global semantics? What's the stage of readiness it's now? And the second thing, how much this approach will be harmonized with the overall principles that are embedded into the standards of the Industry 4.0 as a model of the previous ones? What's the stage of readiness? And what are the norm documents are foreseen for development so that the global community will be able to absorb and understand this approach? These are the questions, please.
Okay, a lot of questions. I try to start from the beginning. So let's say the readiness of the specification of the global production language is that, of course, it is an ongoing approach. We have already a couple of on-the-market specifications, which are also in the usage. So machine builders are using the specifications right now and implement them on the machines. But of course, there are coming more and more because there is so many vocabulary that has to be standardized. Inside the standardization, we are, of course, taking regard of existing standards. The domain experts are always asked, are there existing standards that have to be brought into this interface specification? So, of course, it is nothing which is separated from the international standardizations, and goes, of course, hand in hand with Industry 4.0 approach. We are also working together with the platform Industry 4.0 or the Standardization Council Industry 4.0. So this is really something which is also supported by the GIZ, so the global collaboration company, which is supported by the government of Germany. So it really fits into the whole, let's say, architecture of Industry 4.0. And I would also say it comes out of the Industry 4.0 architecture, because also in the RAMI cube architecture, there is OPC-UA for the level of technology, transport and information. So it fits together, and there is a lot of specifications on the market, but still more specifications are coming.
Thank you. Any further questions to the speakers, dear colleagues? Thank you very much. And there has also been a question in the chat. How does Industry 4.0 technology find its use in machine building. How is it used in machine building? But in the first place, we are not talking about technologies, but architecture and prospective standards of Industry 4.0, the models for creating the smart production, digital factories. And our German colleagues are trying to achieve a certain level of maturity during the nearest decades after they have been working already for 10 years. And we are talking now about the Russian industry. And I already know the machine building quite well, but we are already in the first stage of providing for digital maturity or digital transformation, which is connected with the systems integration to some extent. It's not only the lowest level of the programmable computer-controlled machines, but also we're talking about the processing the data we obtain from real systems and using them in order to take adequate decisions on the basis for ERP systems and integration of ERP and PLM systems. And it's a global task which has to do with integration not only of local systems, but integration of also local and foreign systems which really exist at real companies. And at the moment, no one in the Russian industry has the level of Industry 4.0 and creating the value chain. There are no ready-made solutions. It's a process that requires creativity, and we are now working at trying to provide a non-contradictory, single, unified description of the digital shells and platforms and products. And without that, we won't be able to achieve a high level in machine building and industry in general. And that's a great scope of work for the next 10 to 15 years. And some large-scale structures are now developing prospects until 2040. So we have to work a lot. And watch out very carefully for the best practices that appear in Germany, including the presentation that I just heard. And I try to answer not only to those who are present, but to everyone, and try to ask at what point we are and where we want to move over the next 10 years, and over 1 year or 2 years or 3 years. It's impossible to solve those tasks. So now I am pleased to correct a certain mistake that has happened before and fill this gap, because among our speakers there was one lady, Ms. Olga Denisova, who will now present her presentation, and I, as a moderator, would be grateful to maybe a little bit extend the time which was meant for presentation in order to make up for our faults in the past. Thank you, Boris. Once again, good afternoon to you. And we would like to once again welcome our German partner, Mr. Krause and Mr. Berlman. We see each other only virtually so far. And all the German colleagues who are working in the council. And we spoke a lot about Industry 4.0. And about its progress and its implementation within the Russian reality, the Russian Industry 4.0. And the main thesis for the presentation is something that I would like to repeat, even though my presentation will have to do not with some global issues, but it will be some kind of a report having to do with for the Russian and German colleagues about what our company has done on its way to digitalization by different traits. So what is important for a systematized and effective transition to digital economy? So in the first place, Of course, it's the system of management of the requirements. There should be some connection between those systems, the digital modeling of the products, and we need to move over to smart standards, machine-readable standards, and we need to universal, and we need to have a system for usage by standards by the digital reading and understanding of systems by digitized systems. And our codex system is moving along digitalization path, digitalization track when it comes to digitalization for the digital economy. And we are working in the ontology and semantic group. And our leader is a manager of this group from the Russian side. And about the breakthrough movements forward, we spoke about the smart standard design technical committee because it's our promising and very important task. And our company is also working. We are an IT company. We are developing the software and successfully implement IT at industrial companies. Why it is successful? Because we can nominate now a number of successful cases at such huge companies as Transneft, Kamaz, and the amalgamations of the manufacturers of the railway machinery. So within the ontology and semantic working group, and over the past year, from the past virtual meeting, we have achieved certain results, and we keep working on such interesting German product E-class classifier. Its implementation is direct implementation. It's not easy. It's it's not going the way it should be, and there are objective reasons for that. There is because there are many classifiers on the state level and with each large company, and even though we are not talking about direct implementation of E-class, but we still think it's a unified solution for cooperation and electronic trade, and then it's an optimum solution for cooperation, and possibly its time for direct integration is still ahead of us, but the task of this integration are still being solved so that Russian users would be able to use it and integrate with its own classifiers. And finally, we keep on working on the Russian version. So I'm not talking it's just translation. It's an expert translation. We imply that it is supporting the Russian version of the classifier. And we have completed about 50% of work, and we keep moving in that direction. And many times at yesterday's session and other session, the design committee 711 or drafting committee 711 for smart standards has been mentioned. It has started in summer this year, and the initiator and the ideologist was Anton Shalaev, and we are grateful for this idea, for supporting this initiative. And the chairman of the committee is the manager of our company, Mr. Sergey Sobolev. The company is bringing together, and it's bringing together, used to be 26 organizations. And now, if Sergey will not, maybe has other data, maybe he will correct me, but it's over 30 of them, and we'll probably not stop on that. So we are working in very close contact with the Russian Institute of Standardization, and it's being led by its secretariat. And this partnership is very important. And it is also very important that this committee is working with the effective technical committees, also in close contact with the IT technology committee and with the artificial intelligence committee. So it's this is like a trio, triple, and we hope that it will yield its results. One person cannot count everything. It's they are mixed issues, and we hope, or it's issues that are to be tackled jointly, addressed jointly. So both Codex and all the participants of the committee have undertaken very important tasks for developing smart standards. And the code has developed a smart standard as a certain data container. Certain data container, text, data, and moreover a whole set of formats. So smart standard is not a conversion of standard into an electronic form. It's a new product, and it requires the searching for new products, and it's also such an important issue as its dissemination policy, how it will be spread, distributed. And as selective data or as a unified product, they are not simple questions, and of course they will have to be addressed. And of course all the standardization systems now are being faced with new problems on the way of converting to digitalization. And I have already mentioned the need of integration and developing a unified classifier for the facilities and characteristics, and it's a very important condition to move ahead towards the digitalization. And also it's important to optimize the smart standard digital structures, and if we are working successfully, and we hope that this is how it will be, over the nearest time, the smart standards will be developed containing main provisions, architecture, and the data format, and we will be hoping for a successful result for our joint efforts. For another thing which is important, on the way of step-by-step movement towards digitalization, we need some experience, at least on the level of preliminary standards, and we are confident that the design and technical committee will acquire that experience, and it will be possible, maybe it will be a breakthrough step on the way to digital economy. No matter how maybe loud and pompous it sounds, thank you. Well, now let's move over to Q&A. Maybe there will be a lot of questions and answers. First question on the Russian side, please. There is a mic and you can actually have a seat. Question concerning the development of ontology. As far as I know, currently Technical Committee 22, there is an upper-level ontology standard development going on. So what kind of ontology are you developing for Industry 4.0? Sergey, would you like to join? Would you like to join? This is the most competent source in order to obtain an answer to your question. It should have been your presentation, Sergey. Thank you for the question. It's quite a complex question. There's so far no ontology. We will be expecting it's a very hard instrument, and we need to develop a flexible mechanism, and therefore we will be treating it in a very careful way, because upper level ontology, what do you imply by that? The complexity of the question is that the upper level ontology is a certain abstract language. Because I am very carefully treating the abstract language, and I think that we might start using more concrete, more specific languages. The upper-level languages or abstract languages, they lead to endless discussions, which I do not like. So let us continue. Maybe we can share. Okay. Currently, there are only 8 upper-level ontologies worldwide, which are officially developed, and there is a ghost in Russia, and it will be referring to the upper-level ontology, which is called BFO, or Basic Formula Ontology, and because it's the most developed one currently, not from the point of view of all the upper-level ontology, but from the point of view of the demand in the construction and the military industry and medicine, and thereby, if we are looking at BFO ontology, currently it's bringing together. There is an ontology hub which encompasses over 1,000 subject ontologies, and for ontology modeling we have actually selected that way, and in the upper level ontology we are building the mutual relations, moving over from the general philosophical ideas to specific subject matter areas, including the ontology of civil construction. And so what national technical committee is involved with it? And what technical committees are dealing with ISO and IEC? And I cannot tell it from the memory, but so it's TC number 22. Sergey is present here, and so, Sergey, I will bring one more chair shortly. We have enough mics, and it's an important issue. So the draft of the document that I have seen, colleagues, we are at the beginning of the road, and it's an important aspect. And while Sergey is moving over to us, while the German colleagues are still with us, I think Jans is very carefully listening. We are involved with creating a knowledge base, and in this design committee I am responsible for the interface with ISO EMEC. It's an important international experience, and ISO EMEC, so in CLEC, and we want to become active employees of that. And the German experience is very interesting for us. And it's an interesting experience called White Book, scenarios for digitalization and standard setting, and we are studying it, and we are asking the German side to maybe give green light to this concept in order to study it in a broad audience. Well, it depends on what I will approve.
No, it's nice that you want me to give us the green light. You know, that's at the end. I'm not the specialist, but in the conference we got Mr. Dietz, who's a specialist. He is involved in this kind of. Maybe he can answer the question. So he's a professional in this area. Thank you. Now we'll give the floor to the chairman of TK22, Technical Commission 22. Once we have the standard, when we'll learn what kinds of languages and thoughts of the high level we'll be able to use, employ, prepare in many standards in actually relevant topics. The good morning. So I'd like to greet everybody. Welcome. It's a pity we do not meet. It's a shame we don't meet in person, but still at the end of November we got IT standards, and I hope to see you all in Moscow with us. Now, in terms of anthology, I won't rush in this. We've got some tentative approaches. The more you get, when you speak about just pure theory, everything goes nice. When you go into practice, everything goes not that as good. So I join the opinion, it was by Sergey Sobolev. So we were in touch with him, and it's we understand Sergey Sobolev, we understand it clearly. So when we are going to get it all, I'm not going to give this answer. So with a lot of optimism, but now we'll be very tentative in this. Once we get some results that we actually post and download, yes, we'll do it. It's a very crucial question, a crucial point. We are dealing with this, but it's early to what's the results. Yes, a very crucial point, and I said on projection of discussion. It's not that we've created a coordination council for the chairmen of all other committees. Unfortunately, we don't have when TC 164 chairman is in artificial intelligence. Unfortunately, he's not around, but so they're all interrelated. But especially in terms of international standards, in industry, we've got standards on standards, specific standards, specific architecture. But you know, in health theory, we start with abstract and conceptual models. If you take a look at the standards, what kind, how many ways the conceptual models are represented in some substantial topics. As we are dealing with information modeling, well, we study all conceptual models, and we see them a lot better than they are specified in the standards. And fortunately, the TSC 700 Committee on Mathematical Modeling are not involved in our discussion because they're dealing with research or practice. So something, either practice. But TC 700, Committee 700 is both theory and practice, because they're dealing with mathematics and they're dealing with practice and new technologies, both new materials, new products, new approaches to creating and development of the products. And so that's, when I speak about the anthology, why I ask this kind of provocative questions. So thanks for this kind of discussion that's been shaped, because as our practice has shown us, and actually you're confirming this, that it's not a trivial question and requires involvement in a big number of participants, and not only the territory of Russia, but abroad as well. We need to develop solution jointly that will actually leverage the resolving this issue. in the sort of civil construction point, we went into the civil construction area. I understand that it's a very complex issue. We can expect for a quick result in this area. We understood that resolving the task using the classic classificators, using the classical glossaries, we do not resolve the task of information complexity we are facing now. And Mr. colleagues, I apologize, but we've got very tight time frames. Though we've got very interesting discussion, especially civil construction that we're dealing with, and it's industrial construction. We understand actually the level of this task. In Russia, it's called civil construction. So with Mr. Berlman, we are giving you the floor. So we have to get into the final stage of our session. We need to sum up. So please, Mr. Berlman. Thanks a lot. Very interesting discussion. I've got a proposal. We visit us in November in the conference on IT standards. We'll be able to discuss all these points with German specialists, and I think it's all a good approach. Nevertheless, thanks a lot for the current discussion and for today's event. I think it's crucial that we meet, get together, even in this from time to time in this online format, and so we can discuss the most pressing points. And in terms of interoperability, actually the answer is the practice, because theoretically we can discuss all kinds of nuances and all the details, but by the end of the day, the companies make the decision how can it be implemented in the reality, and it's built this way. So I'm happy that we've discussed various points and various projects, even pilot projects, and we are really grateful for this kind of tight relationships and collaborations. And I suggest that we meet this year in November in Moscow, and I wish you all the success in today's conference and success in our joint initiative. Thank you, Mr. Berlin. So we are finalizing our work as a moderator on the Russian part. I'd like to thank all the speakers on the German and the Russian part. All the presentations were very interesting, initiate new thoughts and approaches that are crucial. So special thanks to Mr. Mikhail Harms, General Director of Eastern Committee of German Economy, and trade representative of Russian Federation in German Federal Republic of Germany, Andrea Sobolev. It gives a high status to our event. And so actually the leaders of such high level from both Russian and German parties pay attention to our topic. It's very important. Thanks to all present here for the questions that you can voice. And Mr. Berlman said the main word, interoperability. Interoperability is the key word. All the approaches at the end of the day will have the practice as a criteria, and practice is the level of interoperability of the systems that are really employed in the production, not only in designing. Because we've got really fascinated by the just modeling and designing and metal. So, and actually we decrease our speed at the start, and the practitioners are looking for our solutions. We need to to know it. So, if colleagues, does anybody want to speak? Mr. Finalizing, Mr. Berlman, we're looking forward to a German delegation visiting, at least on the 23rd of November this year, to Moscow in person. Then we'll carry on with our discussion and a full-fledged discussion. Thanks a lot to everybody, dear colleagues. Thank you. Thanks you. Health to everybody and good luck. The same to you.
Раз.